Alrighty, thank you all for joining us on another APV podcast. I'm Kiara and I am your host of this lovely podcast. And today I have Dr. Glenn Still with us here, and we are going to be talking about the InfantSEE program. So I'm so excited to have you here, Dr. Still, to just give us some knowledge about the program and what it does, why it's so important. And I want to go ahead and give you a moment to just introduce yourself to our listeners.
I'm Dr. Glenn Steele. I just retired after 53 years at Southern College of Optometry. I was chief of pediatrics there for 25-ish of those 53 years. And my whole career has been working with children in both examination and in a program we have called vision therapy. And I did a fellowship early on in my career at the Gazelle Institute of Child Development, and that got me started on that. But I was already had an interest in pediatrics and children prior to that time. But my whole career has been dedicated to children.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Giving back to the future, the next generation. So we definitely appreciate you for all that you've done in the field of pediatric vision health. And we're so excited to be speaking with you a little bit today.
Well, thank you. I'm getting a shirt that says I'm retired, but I'm not quitting.
Well, isn't that wonderful? I can't wait to be retired just like you. I'm sure you have some amazing plans, but I'm sure you're still going to keep your hand in the community and of course keep power housing and heading these developments with pediatric vision health.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, the first question that I just want to open us up with is what exactly, for our listeners that have no idea what the InfantSEE program is, what is the InfantSEE program?
With InfantSEE, we have about 4,000 optometrists across the country who have volunteered to participate. What that volunteer means and participation means is they will see babies between 6 and 12 months generally, without charge to parent or insurance company. So if you go to the InfantSEE website, infantsee.org, and find a doctor or locate a doctor, you will find somebody who is participating in the program. And you just call and make an appointment. Many doctors have longer waiting lists, but you just have to work within the confines of the participating doctor in your area. We were challenged by President Carter, who is our honorary spokesperson. He had grandchildren who had amblyopia or lazy eye, and it wasn't diagnosed until school age. And he said, that shouldn't happen.
Right.
And he challenged us to start a program, and we had already been talking about it. And he said, let's go ahead and develop that program. And so we developed it, and then he added, it should be without charge to parent or insurance company. So what it does, it gives these kids such an early start in identifying problems. It's not unusual for us to see a child come in at 16 years old, having failed their driver's license test, and we find problems that should have been identified so much earlier. And so that's the background of why we did it, to identify problems early, to begin implementing interventions that will make it easier for the kids as they go through preschool, school age, driving, all the things that are related to early life.
Right. So then you touched on it a little bit earlier, but it seems like the next question I had was how do you qualify? But it seems like this is a free program, you said. So no insurance needed, nothing at all.
No. You don't qualify if you make $10 million a year, if you make on public assistance. It's the same for everybody, because that would really not meet the goals of our program if we limited it to certain people.
Right.
And that's why certain doctors have chosen not to participate. because they didn't want to do that. But yes, like I said, we've got about 4,000 across the country. You can go to the website and you can find the doctors in your, just plug in your zip code and you'll find the doctors in your area.
Well, that's amazing. And it sounds very simple, really easy to do. Just a quick search of your zip code, and then you can see if there's a doctor in your area that provides the service.
Yes, and the phone numbers for their office and locations will be there.
Thank you. And so the next question that I have is, I know that this program is targeting such a young population, 6 months to 12 months. What is the importance of a comprehensive eye exam at that age, other than, of course, maybe finding, a disease such as amblyopia or strabismus early? What other reasons should we, as parents or as caretakers, be looking to take our children to an eye exam at that age?
I'll give an example of a parent who spoke to our state leaders several years ago. And she said, we took them in just for what we call a wet lab, a demonstration, and she didn't suspect anything. But she said it took longer and longer and longer. And come to find out, the baby, which is about 8 months old, was significantly farsighted. And then come to find out later, after a little more investigation, they were already on a developmental delay track. And when she told the medical caregiver about, the problem and needing glasses, he said, "Yeah, that's fine, but we need to make sure we follow the developmental delay track." Well, 3 months after the initial glasses were prescribed, she was no longer on the development, no longer needed the developmental delay track, and those so those are issues that are not obvious. You don't
Right.
see an obvious eye turn. You don't see the kid not looking or anything, and so it just is so important to identify. One of the first, and I can still remember where I was whenever I first heard the call, but a mother called in and left a voicemail at the American Optometric Association headquarters, and it says, "I want to thank you, your program of InfantSEE, for saving my daughter's life." She had gone in, she heard President Carter talking about InfantSEE on the launch. We launched on the Today Show, and she heard him talking. So I'll take her in. Wasn't even born yet. I'll take her in when she gets over 6 months of age. She did, and they found her retinoblastoma, an eye cancer, which
Oh,
was
wow.
not at the stage yet where it could be easily noticed. But with the dilation of the eye, opening pupil where you can look further inside, we saw the doctor saw that there was a potential retinoblastoma again, or an eye cancer. Um, Fortunately, it was contained in the eye. She did lose the eye, but it hadn't spread anywhere else. And now she probably got her driver's license. So those are the kinds of outcomes we want. The kids we find, fortunately, retinoblastoma or eye cancer is very, very, very rare. And in the 160,000 kids that we have examined, it's still very, very, very rare. It's there, but it's rare.
Right.
Much more common is the pattern of kids show when they have nearsightedness or farsightedness. And babies are not looking far away. They don't have to look far away. And if they're significantly nearsighted, everything might be just fine to them until they get into school. Then they have to look up at the chalkboard or the PowerPoint, and you've got a whole different set of problems there that may not have been identified earlier. Whereas if we identify those things earlier, then we might see that the kid is more open to doing things farther away than maybe starting just with the device, the iPad, the tablet, or whatever here, and sticking right there and reinforcing that nearsighted pattern.
Right.
So just early identification of problems that sound simple. Well, eye cancer doesn't sound simple, but nearsightedness and farsightedness sounds very simple. but you start trying to look at the things they have to do. And I have developed a procedure based on many other before me, but I call it just look. And I want my students to just look at what's happening. Look at the baby. How are they operating? How are they functioning? And compare that to what would be expected in a typical baby.
Right,
You identify things that are out of character for the typical baby, then begin your investigation there and provide the intervention that's necessary, or seek consultation with other people where that might be necessary.
right. Well, I definitely, I mean, am so happy to hear that InfantSEE, no surprise, no shocker here, has saved lives and done such amazing things for the communities that it's touched and for the young lives that it's touched. And that's exactly why APV wanted to take the moment and sit down and highlight this program, because I'm sure that there are a lot of kids and especially underserved populations that don't have the access to healthcare, don't have the access to a comprehensive eye exam, especially not maybe at that age. And so I think it's really important work that the InfantSEE program is doing. And we're so excited to, just be able to, like I said, get other people to know that there is such a program, that you can go and take your child and take this first step towards eye care, which is so important. We focus on audiology and we focus on all these other things, but it doesn't seem that vision health gets the recognition or the importance that it
Right.
should, especially because our eyes are connected to our brain and everything functions that way. So it's just really interesting to know that there are programs and people such as yourself that are doing the work and really trying to give back to communities.
We really try, and I've taken on the approach that was in a video by one of our original sponsors. It's not that parents don't care, it's that they don't know, and we
Exactly.
have a responsibility to inform them. And
Exactly.
and so that's the kind of thing that's what infancy is all about. And then it starts that lifetime of watching and caring and intervening when necessary. 10% of our babies consistently, 10% of the babies that are reported to us have issues that need to either be followed or need immediate intervention. And that's 10% of the babies that we've seen that likely wouldn't have received that if they hadn't taken the baby in for care.
Right. Well, Dr. Steele, we are wrapping up at our time here, and I just wanted to leave you with the floor to leave any final words of wisdom in regards to healthcare for parents, for students, for anyone wanting to maybe learn a little bit more about why eye health is so important.
I think you mentioned one thing, Kara, and that is the eyes are connected to the brain. I even say that the eyes are a part of the brain. And if you just look at how the babies engage in the world around them, they're building their brain through using eyes, through looking, through engaging, through developing their attention. And we were talking before we started about the device use. World Health Organization says no device use until 2 years of age.
Wow.
And we see so many kids all the time in our offices. They come in and it's a struggle sometimes to take the device away. So that's a whole different subject, but it's just important to realize how extremely important the connection to eyes and developing brain and developing child. 0 to 3 says school readiness begins at birth. And I take that if school readiness begins at birth, then life readiness begins at birth. So it
Indeed.
just becomes so very important for us to start early. And I would encourage parents to look up a doctor in their area, call. You can extend that range out to 25 or 50 miles. I'm not sure exactly how, but you can extend that range out to find doctors in the area.
Well, Dr. Steele, again, thank you so much for sitting with us and discussing the InfantSEE program. If anyone needs more information, there will be more information in the description box to where you can go and find the InfantSEE program online, sign up, and just get more information about the program. So we
Yeah.
thank you all again for joining us. Again, Dr. Still, thank you. And I hope that our listeners have a great rest of their day.
I hope they do too. Thank you.
Thank you.